Welcome to our channel. We'd be grateful if you'd like and subscribe. This story is about a black CEO who walked into her own luxury hotel only to be dismissed as a nobody. With one phone call, Vanessa Clayton turned denial into a lesson in respect, exposing the biases of those who underestimated her. Set in the polished halls of a Denver hotel, it's a tale of quiet power, accountability, and the unshakable dignity of a woman who built an empire but still had to prove her place. At 46, the black CEO stepped into her own upscale hotel, the Pinnacle Grand in Denver, Colorado, expecting a key, a warm bed, and a night to recharge before a board meeting she hadn't planned to attend in person. Vanessa Clayton entered with quiet confidence, her soft loafers silent, tailored slacks understated, dusty blue silk blouse simple, a canvas tote on her shoulder. No assistant, no entourage, just another guest, or so she seemed. But when she reached the front desk, everything went wrong. The young receptionist, chewing a pen, her acrylic nails tapping the keyboard, offered a rehearsed smile meant for refusals. "Checking in," Vanessa said, smiling politely. "Under Clayton Vanessa." The girl's fingers danced, then stopped. She blinked, lips pursing. "I don't see a reservation under that name." "That's fine," Vanessa said. "The owner's suite is always held for me." "Ma'am, we're fully booked," the girl replied, her tone shifting. "You need a confirmed reservation to stay here. Guests only." Vanessa's smile didn't fade, but the room's weight shifted. She glanced past the girl to the gold plaque. Pinnacle Grand, a Clayton property. Her name wasn't just on a booking, it was on the building. "I am a guest," she said softly. "And more than that, I own this hotel." The girl blinked, momentarily stunned, as if Vanessa had claimed to be royalty, then smirked skeptically. "You own the Pinnacle?" Vanessa nodded calmly. The girl reached for the phone. "I'll need to call the manager." Across the lobby, a couple in golf polos glanced over. A man by the fireplace tilted his head. Vanessa felt the familiar weight of assumption. Someone must be lying, and they thought they knew who. Moments later, a lanky man with a crooked tie and tablet emerged, his badge reading Assistant Manager Neil Torrance. He glanced at Vanessa and launched into forced cheer. "Good evening. Trouble with a reservation?" "She claims she owns the hotel," the receptionist said too loudly. Neil hesitated. Vanessa held his gaze. "I don't claim. I'm Vanessa Clayton. You'll find my name in every quarterly report, every executive memo. I am here for one night. You should have a room under the owner's block." Neil adjusted his glasses. Just 1 minute, please." He turned, muttering into a radio. Vanessa stood still, not fidgeting, not raising her voice, but the air thickened. Then security appeared, not aggressive, but present, one by the elevators, another near the cafe, just in case. Vanessa's gaze didn't waver, but a quiet fire rose in her chest, not just because they didn't recognize her, but because they assumed she didn't belong again. She could have shown ID, emails, property deeds, photos from the ribbon cutting 6 years ago, but instead, she stepped back, pulled out her phone, and made one call. It took 26 seconds. She didn't raise her voice, just stated her location, name, and said, "I'm being denied access to my property. Handle it now." Then she waited, standing by a marble pillar, phone in hand. The receptionist kept typing, as if the screen could rewrite reality. Neil returned, clutching a folder, nervous but trying a new tone. "Miss Clayton," he said, emphasizing her name, "I think there's been a mix-up. We just need to verify—" Vanessa cut in gently. "Verify what you want. I'm not moving." Neil glanced at the security guard, who didn't budge. The staff froze in a silent standoff, unsure whether to escalate or apologize. Neither felt safe. Vanessa noticed 3 women by the window whispering. A young man with a half-open laptop pretending not to listen. The doorman no longer greeting guests. The receptionist checked her phone under the desk, likely Googling Vanessa's name, expecting nothing. It would have been funny if it weren't so familiar. People think they know what power looks like, how leadership sounds, what an owner wears. Vanessa, dark skin, textured hair in a neat bun, no designer bag, no loud jewelry, didn't fit their picture. So they doubted her. That's what stung, not the denial, but that it wasn't surprising. She recalled another hotel lobby years ago in Minneapolis at 28, fresh as a VP, wearing heels that blistered and an oversized suit, security trailing her, until the CFO greeted her personally. She hadn't forgotten, and here she was, 18 years later, still proving herself in a building bearing her name. She sighed, scanning the room. No apologies, no corrections, just ticking clocks and people avoiding her gaze. Then the elevator dinged. 2 men stepped out, one in a gray suit with a tablet, the other in a branded fleece. Regional VP Brent Kessler and District Manager Carlos Reyes, panic flickering on their faces. Brent strode forward, nodding past Neil. "Miss Clayton, we're so sorry. I just got the call." Carlos, breathless, added, "We'll handle this immediately." Neil started to speak, but Brent silenced him with a look. The receptionist, badge reading Kayla Mendez, froze, eyes wide, realizing who Vanessa was. Her face paled as she stepped back. "Suite 1202 is cleared," Carlos said, checking his tablet. "Your driver's rerouted for tomorrow. Your usual fruit tray and espresso order will be waiting." Vanessa gave a faint smile. "Thank you." But she wasn't done. She wanted to see how they'd react now that they knew. Would their tone shift, their posture change? She wanted to feel the electricity when truth entered the room. It's one thing to be disrespected when people don't know your name, another when they do, and choose it anyway. Carlos pulled Neil aside, his voice low but sharp. Brent was on the phone, barking about HR protocols and misconduct. The tension once aimed at Vanessa now ricocheted among the staff like a pinball of panic. Vanessa didn't gloat, didn't cross her arms, or lift her chin in triumph. She stepped back to the desk, slow and quiet, placing her phone down. "I'll take the 12th floor suite," she said, voice even. "Send someone to confirm it's clean." Kayla opened her mouth, but found no words. Vanessa didn't wait, turning to Brent. "Am I checked in?" He nodded, flipping through his tablet. 2 key cards and an incident report by the time you're in the elevator." "Good," she said. "The rest?" Brent nodded. "We've issued a site-wide notice. Corporate audit teams on standby. All current staff will undergo guest protocol recertification. Disciplinary actions start tonight." Vanessa glanced at Kayla, now biting her cheek, her nails tapping anxiously. "You'll speak with her," Vanessa said to Brent. "Yes, ma'am," he replied. "Privately, with HR present." Carlos looked ready to say more, but Vanessa raised a hand. "I'll speak with her, too. Later, after I rest." She took the key card, nodded, and walked to the elevator. Heads turned, some guests whispered, others watched silently. The doors closed behind her. In Suite 12-2, the air smelled of lemon and eucalyptus. A fruit tray sat ready, espresso capsules stacked by the machine, a handwritten card with her initials waiting, clearly rushed. Vanessa paced the room, checking not just for cleanliness, but for intent, proof someone still cared about the experience she'd built from nothing. This hotel wasn't just business. It was her story. At 33, pitching to a Minnesota bank that didn't believe she could pull it off, facing brutal loan terms, she'd prevailed. Now, nearly 2 decades later, in one of her signature penthouses, she still had to prove herself. Her phone buzzed, a text from her assistant. "Everything's in motion. Want a press statement?" Vanessa paused. One tweet could go viral. One interview could write headlines. But she didn't want headlines tonight. This wasn't about rage or revenge. It was about respect, too often tied to assumptions, not reality. She sat on the bed, hands folded, as Denver's night hummed outside along Colfax Avenue, a distant train horn echoing. A knock came. Room service, a young man with fresh espresso, an apology note from the kitchen manager, and an offer for a masseuse. Vanessa thanked him quietly, closed the door, sipped the espresso, and looked out at the city's faint lights. She felt a shift, not just in the hotel, but in herself. At 6:30 a.m., Vanessa descended, not as a guest, but as CEO, in a crisp charcoal suit. Ivory blouse, heels clicking with each step, eyes focused, unyielding. The lobby stirred as she appeared. Staff straightened, conversations hushed. The barista paused mid-pour. Brent and Carlos waited by the fireplace with 3 folders and untouched coffee, looking sleepless. Vanessa nodded and headed to the executive conference room, passing the concierge desk. Inside, Neil sat stiffly, Kayla Mendez beside him, and an HR woman, Marta, with an open notepad. Vanessa stood at the table's head, arms crossed. Silence hung thick. "Anyone want to explain last night from your perspective?" she asked quietly. Kayla looked down. Neil cleared his throat, but found no words. Vanessa waited. Kayla mumbled, "I just didn't think she was... I didn't expect..." "You didn't expect someone like me to own the building," Vanessa finished, calm, measured. Kayla nodded faintly. "Was I rude to you?" Vanessa asked. Kayla shook her head. "No, ma'am." "Did I raise my voice?" "No." "Threaten anyone?" "No," Kayla whispered. Vanessa sighed, turning to Marta. "I don't need a firing squad, but I need accountability." Marta nodded. Carlos spoke up. "We're ready to issue a formal report and suspend her from the desk until recertification. Neil faces administrative review pending further interviews." Vanessa sat, turning to Kayla. "How long have you worked here?" 4 months? And in that time, how often did you think about who built this hotel, where it came from, Kayla hesitated. I just assumed it was some corporation, investors or something. Vanessa let the moment linger. Do you know how many properties I've built nationwide? Kayla shook her head. 17, from Seattle to Miami, each designed for luxury, accessibility, service, humanity. I created this brand because I was tired of being treated like a shadow. So tell me, why? When I walk into my own lobby, am I still invisible to those working under my name? The question wasn't angry, just tired, honest, heavy. Kayla looked ready to vanish. Neil stared ahead, flushed. Carlos spoke. We've drafted a memo for all Clayton properties today. Mandatory, comprehensive inclusivity training. No exceptions. Vanessa looked at him. Make sure it's not just a checkbox. I don't want memorized scripts. I want people to understand what respect looks like when they think no one's watching, Brent spoke. We'll make it real. She stood. The meeting ended. Leaving the room, the lobby seemed to straighten. Staff nodded nervously, but Vanessa didn't acknowledge them yet. She wasn't after performance. She wanted change. But before leaving, she needed one more conversation, not about policy. She waited until the morning rush eased, not for drama, but to strip away distractions. No ringing phones, no fake smiles for guests, just truth. She found Kayla in the staff break room behind the cafe, alone at a narrow table. A half-eaten blueberry muffin before her, phone face down, looking sleepless. Vanessa entered herself. Kayla sat up, nearly spilling her drink. Relax, Vanessa said, pulling a chair across. I just want to talk. Kayla swallowed hard. Yes, ma'am. Drop the ma'am, Vanessa said gently. This isn't a hearing. Kayla nodded, eyes down. They sat in silence, the hum of a fridge and overhead lights filling the space. Then Vanessa spoke. Ever worked somewhere you felt small? Kayla blinked, looking up. Yeah, most of the time. Tell me. Kayla shrugged. I worked at a diner till I was 28, wore a paper hat, got yelled at by cooks every shift. Some customers never tipped. Some called me kid, though I was grown. I felt invisible mostly. Vanessa leaned back. So you know what it's like to be overlooked. Help me understand how you looked me in the eye last night and decided I didn't belong. The silence wasn't empty. It carried guilt, realization, clicking into place. Kayla's voice was rough. I don't know. I didn't mean to. When you walked in, I thought you were lost or waiting for someone else. You didn't look like... She stopped. Like someone who owns hotels, Vanessa finished. Kayla nodded. What does that person look like? Kayla didn't answer. That's the real problem, Vanessa said. People have a picture. Clean-shaven, probably male, probably older. Definitely not me. That picture doesn't just live in your head. It shapes decisions, behavior. I'm sorry, Kayla said quietly. Really. I know it's not enough, but... Vanessa nodded slowly. It's a start. But I'm not here for apologies. I'm here so you see me, not as your boss, not a cautionary tale, but a person. I was you once. Started as a desk clerk, mistaken for a janitor more times than I can count. People called me sweetie, like I wasn't running the place. Every time I had to choose fight or let it go. When I reached the boardroom, I vowed to build places where people like you could grow. Kayla's eyes widened. You really started as a clerk? Vanessa smiled. In Portland. My first boss said I sounded too educated on the phone and moved me to night audit. That was my start. Kayla almost laughed. That's unreal. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't, Vanessa said, standing. I don't need you to be perfect, but I need you to know every guest, old, young, dressed up, or not, deserves dignity. Start there, and you'll never have to recover from nights like last night. Kayla stood too. Thank you for talking to me. Vanessa nodded and left, feeling lighter. The message had landed. By mid-morning, the Pinnacle Grand's rhythm returned superficially. Guests rolled bags across polished tile. Coffee cups clinked. A family asked about zoos. But in the executive office, things shifted. Brent stood by the window, watching valets shuffle cars. Carlos typed a memo. Marta reviewed hiring modules with grim focus. Vanessa scanned personnel files, flagged for review. Not angry, but precise. I'm not here to punish, she said, flipping a report. I'm here to prevent this again. Carlos looked up. We're adjusting front desk hiring, not just skills, but empathy tests, bias assessments. Good, Vanessa said, tapping her pen. Add me to the rotation next quarter. I'll visit random properties quietly like here. Brent raised an eyebrow. An undercover guest? Not undercover, she said. Anonymous until I'm not. Carlos smirked. That'll make people nervous. Good, she said. Let them sit with it. This job doesn't come with warnings. She stood, tucking papers into a folder. Launch the new training by next Friday. Include story modules. Real guest experiences, not fake scripts. I want human words. Brent nodded. Consider it done. Vanessa left, pausing at the front desk where a new agent smiled respectfully, recognizing she wasn't just another suit. She nodded back, scanning the lobby. Outside it seemed still, but she felt cracks forming in old habits. The start of real change, not with press releases or public apologies, but quiet corrections, repeated until they stuck. She headed to the elevator, up to grab her things, her flight hours away. On the 12th floor, her suite's door was ajar. Housekeeping had just left. Her bag was packed, laptop on the desk, charger coiled. Everything in order except a folded note on the nightstand. She opened it. Miss Clayton, thank you for your grace. I'll do better. Kayla. No envelope, just lined paper and neat handwriting. But it meant more than any corporate apology. Vanessa folded it, slipped it into her purse, and headed downstairs. The same doorman from last night held the door. Safe travels, Miss Clayton, he said warmly. Hope to see you soon. She smiled. You will. As her car pulled away, she didn't look back. She didn't need to. She'd left something behind, heavier than luggage. The weight of being underestimated. The quiet pain of proving her worth. In its place was clarity, discomfort, growth, for them and maybe for her. The airport ride was quiet. No small talk, no radio, just tires on asphalt and the occasional blinker. Vanessa sat, one hand on her purse, the other holding Kayla's note. She didn't reread it, but its presence was enough. Proof last night wasn't wasted. She watched brick buildings, corner gas stations, faded auto shop signs pass by. She hadn't planned to be here, but maybe she was meant to be. Not for a board meeting, but for a conversation. These things didn't shock her anymore. She wasn't angry they happened. She was tired they kept happening. Tired of worth being measured by assumptions, of people boxing her in without a question, of explaining what she shouldn't have to. Yes, this is mine. Yes, I built it. Yes, I belong. Yet she wasn't bitter. Bitterness wasn't what she carried. Memory was, and memory could be power if used right. At the airport signs, she thought of her younger self, working night shifts in cheap flats, stiff uniforms, no makeup, no recognition, just drive, believing she'd build something no one could take. She had, but buildings weren't enough. Even with 17 properties and a team answering to her, people saw something less. So what do you do when the world won't see you? You see yourself clearly, unapologetically. You stand your ground, speak plainly, don't ask permission, act like the door was always yours. Vanessa stepped out, grabbed her bag, nodded to the driver. No more words needed. In the terminal, people rushed with coffee cups and rolling bags, announcements echoing. She moved quietly, nearly invisible in the crowd, but something in her settled. She'd taken a moment of humiliation and made it a mirror for everyone in that hotel to see themselves. Mirrors don't lie. They show who you are. She hoped Kayla would grow, Neil would learn, Brent and Carlos would keep their promises. If they didn't, she'd still stand. She always had. Her dignity wasn't given. It was what she never let go. To anyone who'd ever been dismissed, doubted, or spoken to like they didn't matter, Vanessa had one last message. You don't need to shout to be heard. Know who you are and walk like it. Every time. Let them squirm, let them learn, let them wonder how they missed it. And when they finally see you, make sure they never forget. If this story made you pause, reflect, or feel something deep, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories about the power of truth and people who refuse to be ignored.